So you want to be the first to know what's going on in the Denver metro when it comes to the housing market and our home prices going up or down. But more importantly, for all of us, if I'm looking to buy, sell, or invest, should I do it now or wait? So let's dive right into what's going on in the market on this edition as we look at what happened in September, as we approach October and Q4. And if you look at the important metrics that we want to follow when it comes to supply and demand, which are just basic laws that apply very, very well when it comes to real estate. And for everybody who hasn't watched our previous market updates, months of inventory is the main term that will help you better understand what type of market are we in. Sellers, neutral, which we'll just call healthy or balanced, and or buyers. Now remember, as you look at this graph, we haven't been in a buyer's market since the mortgage crash of 2008. And in fact, we've been continuing to try to get to a healthier, more normal market, but we keep making not necessarily the smartest decisions when it comes to helping our strain on inventory. Remember, after that, we had about 12 years of a lack of supply, meaning available homes. Builders weren't building. We're still down to about 8 years of a under supply of homes needed to balance out the market. And the nation is much different than here locally in Colorado. We outperform it consistently. So remember, a seller's market doesn't mean that's what you should do. A seller's market just means there's a high probability that home value is going to keep going up. And that's anything about 5 to 4 months of inventory or less, which we're going to talk about on a slide here in a moment. So let's look at overall supply in the Denver metro as of September 2025 coming into October. You can see there are 12,000 active listings sitting on the market, meaning active listings. This is supply readily available. It's not necessarily new from that month, but it's just they're sitting there actively in the market, ready for you to take advantage of. You can see the benefit for buyers is that over the last 5 years, well, gosh, we haven't been sitting at a level of about 12,000 active listings. So that's more availability for you to choose from when it comes to your wants and needs. For sellers, the opportunity here is that if you have a really nice home that you prepared and you got ready for the market, it will most likely be distinguished and separate itself from others that are still sitting, most likely for mistakes on either preparation or pricing, as well as maybe a lack of promotion from their real estate professionals. But as you can see, we started to decrease the amount of active listings all the way back in June, which actually usually didn't happen, as you can see, till about this time, October, November. So new listings, this is what's also interesting as you look at that orange graph, you can see that new listings were coming to market at a greater rate than any time over the last 5 years at the beginning of this year. So we had a lot of people who have made money on their homes and said it's time to sell. Those people are still deciding to do it because, as you can see, the new listings last month of 4,806 is up actually 10% month over month. So there's still sellers bringing homes to the market, which is great for buyers because it, again, helps us with this opportunity of available inventory. But you can see it's actually a little bit lower than this time last year. Now, why is that? Is because as you start looking at the overall demand, meaning pending home sales, how many went under contract, you can see 3,485 of those homes actually went under contract. Now, based on new listings, meaning 4,806 coming to the market, all right, is that means we're going to see a little bit of growth, as you can tell, from that active listing, which you saw. Pending home sales are staying somewhat flat around that number. As you can see, 3,606, only a difference of 3% last month, month over month. And the key here is, as you can see that, well, in 2021, look at that steady decline. We all know what happened. But as you can also see, like looking at 2022, look how fast that steady decline from May all the way till December was. This is actually a very flat line of demand, which leads to a showing that there's consistency and health in the market for the availability of homes, which is great. It just goes to show we're getting closer and closer to this healthier or more balanced market. And you can see right here in the month supply of listings, we're at 3.5 months, 3.6 from last month. Where the fear of this is that, as you can see, usually seasonality wise, we don't see inventory drop until about September, October. When we started to see inventory peak in June, thank goodness, all right, that some people did bring more listings to the market because there was fear that that could have dropped a little bit more dramatically this month, maybe down to like 3.2, 3.3. But as you start looking at 3.5 months of inventory, this is great. Okay, this means that Home prices have a high probability of rising month over month, year over year, but at a healthy rate. These average $750,000 to $800,000 sales in the state of Colorado at about 3 to 4%. You're making, you know what I mean, $40,000, $50,000 a year. But again, why would I want to wait for something to be $50,000 more expensive next year, knowing that the market's healthy? There is no indication of any level of crash. And again, there's a lot of slides in our national housing market update that we show you specifically around the amount of equity and homes that are owned outright, is we're in a very good position to manage or handle any uncertainty. But for everybody, as you can look at this month supply of listings from starting the year at about 2, getting all the way up to about 4 in the Denver metro, is there was so much opportunity for buyers because sellers were willing to negotiate. In fact, in the Denver metro, home prices of about $500,000 to $750,000, 70% of these sales came with a concession, an average concession of $11,000. Sellers are willing to negotiate, support, and help you purchase their properties, buy down, and or them willing to pay your lender to lower your interest rate, knowing that rates really are probably only going to drop about 0.5% over the next 18 months. So why wait? Might as well do it now. So the overall theme, when we look at market activity, the average days in the MLS was 52. The close price to list price was 98%. As you can see, last year was 99%. So again, whatever price you start at, whatever you drop to, the reality is most people are going to come in and offer somewhere around a 2% or lower than that amount. And that is pretty normal. And it just allows you as a seller to strategically price your property. And as I talk to any seller that we work with, it's why it's always safe to bump it up, most likely about 1 to 2% in today's market, because you'll just give it back. But at the end of the day, these are the things we can expect. And what's great about a healthy or a balanced housing market is that it's a lot easier to know what to expect. You can take your time, but don't take too long, because there's still some very hyper local markets that inventory is actually at like 1 month of inventory, meaning that specific neighborhood. So as always, we like to bring you the first to know so you can know. There's no reason to wait right now. None, unless there's something specific that's to your situation. But for a lot of people, when it comes to selling, and what I meant by no reason to wait if you're looking to buy, okay, but selling, there may be some reasons here in about 60-ish days to look at. Do you want to time this in the first part of the year where chances are inventory may be a little bit lower, which helps your home compete more if it doesn't already have certain conditions or preparations to do such? So as we look at closing the showing activity, the average showings depending was about 15. The average showings for listing though was about 4. So if you're a seller and you haven't gotten to that 15 showings, that's a good basis on better understanding why have we not gotten a contract. But also remember, marketing is the bait, price is the hook. If you got your price wrong, you're just never going to be able to drive enough people to the property, and you might have gotten it wrong from the start, and now it's difficult to do it over. You're going to have to look at a relist launch strategy. But those are all things that we cover in our strategy reviews. So if you are looking to learn more, you're in the research phase, or you're struggling with any level of transaction, reach out to us, book a Zoom call, and we would love to learn a little bit more about your situation and offer any clarity around specific areas and or hyper local reports as opposed to Denver Metro. And as always, keeping current matters, and it matters to us to make sure that you have this information. So thank you for giving us our time. Welcome to October. I hope it's not too scary for many of you. Real estate certainly isn't right now, which is great. So it's a great time to be in the market. But to us and you and your families, have a great quarter 4, and we're looking forward to an amazing end of the year and start to 2026.